compromise your energy. Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. Alchemize your energy, my friend. Let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright, from darkness to light.
Welcome to Alchemizing Energy. Listen, we tried to do this live a couple days ago and we were under a storm attack. But today we are back on and popping with Baba YashaBiyah. He dropped a lot of gems last time and I really didn't want to I wanted to do him justice. I didn't want that to be, his video on my channel. So right now I want to bring him back so that we can really get into Hebrew Israelitism, the Yoruba culture, Ifa, etc., the feminine energy. I mean, he is an elder, so we want to respect the fact that we have a person here that was around during a lot of the times when a lot of these things were coming into existence. So I really want to give all due and praise to Baba YashaBiyah. Shouts out. Let's go. Welcome, Baba. How are you?
Everything's in divine order, cosmologically speaking, thanks to the ancestors in Ifa. And I want to say thank you for bringing us on to share some information that may help the future people that wants to get into the spirituality of what Ifa is and the Hebrew Israelite concept. I call them mythical concept because they come from a mythological order. So I'm here to answer any questions or address anything you want. We've been in this since 1973. And we started our journey in 73. And as my journey went on for 5 or 10 years, then we went through the initiation process. I was among the Hebrew Israelites for many, many years with studying with them, with Brother Ben Amin and Yahweh Ben Yah. We've been through the religious, shall I say, journey of the indigenous people trying to find an identity. And we've been in many camps, and we was also, like everybody else, trying to find an identity. And we learned a lot on this journey that we want to share now. And that is this, that there are many concepts, but you have to understand, we have to study this thing from etymology, timeline, chronology, agriculture, and linguistics. Those are the 5 levels in order to understand where this thing comes from. Then you have to understand reading, you have to do reading, research, and to understand what we're dealing with. And then you got to go back and re-examine everything you've been taught. So where do we want to begin? I like to begin with the group that call themselves, and this is no attack, Hebrew Israelite. And they say that they're the seed of Abraham. Well, Abraham, first and foremost, let's go to Encyclopedia Britannica. And because it's a thing called Jewish Myths and Legends. Seeing that the Jewish people of Judea gave us the Bible. Now, they say that the Bible itself is, I think, 6,000, 7,000 years old. Well, that's a problem because the guy that gave you the chronology of the Bible name was Archbishop Ursher. Archbishop Ursher. He was the guy that created the timeline for the Bible. Like Abraham, 14 generations from David to etc. He gave you the timeline. But he said that the world started in October the 23rd at 9 o'clock in the morning, 4004 BC. Look him up. His name is Archbishop Ursher, my sister. So they can see this, because If we can't document it, we won't talk about it. Archbishop Ursher. He was the one that gave you the chronology of the Bible. Now, mind you, the chronology of the Bible is not in order. We've been taught through the years that the book of Genesis is the oldest book. That is not true. The oldest recorded book for the book is the book of Job. Okay, what do we have? Archbishop James Ursher, 17th century, Irish Anglican Church, biblical scholar, is known for the chronology that is placed in the creations of the world at 4004 BC, a date derived from the, okay. So you can see this is the man that gave you your timeline. Now, mind you, everybody want to go back to Egypt. We can show you a group of people who existed long before Adam and Eve. And they would be called the Lubombo people from the Lubombo Mountains, where the African sister was one to create the first calendar. That's another story. But let's use that because we're looking at timeline. In BC, they count down. AD, they count up. So if the world started in 4004 BC, where was all these other tribes in Arcubulon that existed long before there? So let's look at this group. His name is Paul Beaumont, wrote a book on mathematics. And in his book, he talked about a thing called the Lubombo bone. The Lubombo bone. I'm going to show you something with this because this goes on back. It's called the Lubombo bone. Now, here we have it. Sister, you mind reading that? Since the writing is so small.
The Lubombo bone discovered in the border cave in the Lubombo Mountains, the baboon fibula with 29 notches dating back to around 3500 BC, and is considered one of the oldest known mathematical 35,000 BC and is considered one of the oldest known mathematical artifacts.
Okay. So here we got 35,000. Now, if they discovered this bone 35,000 years, and the world started in 4004 BC, we got 26,000 years unaccounted for. And these were sisters had discovered, read a little bit more, it said it was the African woman who created the Levant based on her menstrual period and the moon for agriculture. It was the sisters who was the first mathematician. Now, Baba, what I got to do with it? It tells you that the Bible is built on mythology. Now, why am I going back there? Because in the Encyclopedia Britannica, under Jewish Myths and Legends, 1984 edition, volume 10, page 191, second paragraph, say that the vast repertoire of Jewish myth and legends begin with the first 11 chapters of Genesis, which means if you go in the Bible and look at the story, where does the Abrahamic story start? It starts around I think it's around the 10th chapter, around the 43rd verse, when it said when he left out of Mesopotamia and crossed over. They translated that word from Hebrew to Hebrew. The Mesopotamian people called the immigrants Hebrew, which means he that crossed over. So what do you have? Okay, the first 11 chapters. There we go. Would you read that for us? Sister Monica?
The first 11 chapters of Genesis, while containing profound spiritual truths, are widely interpreted by mainstream Bible scholars as a mytho-history rather than literal accounts drawing from an ancient Near Eastern mythologies and folklore.
Right. Which means that where did the Jews get it from? They got it from a group called Gilgamesh people. And the Gilgamesh got theirs from the Sumerian tablets. So everybody's borrowing. Now I said, well, I can't believe that. Well, if the story of Abraham, remember this, Abraham was not a Hebrew Israelite. He wasn't an Israelite because the name Israelite did not come into play until Jacob, whose name was changed from Yaakov to Israel by the angel. So how many years was it from Abraham to Jacob before the name appeared? So that means Abraham could not be an Israelite. Let's know the word Hebrew, I mean, he that crossed over. He that crossed over the Euphrates. But people in search of identity, they combine those two words, Hebrew and Israelite, or Israel. Israel was a name that was given to Jacob. Later we find out that Jacob, who married Leah and Rachel, each one of them had what they call midwives, they had what they call nurses that also both had children by Jacob. So which one of these women, from that came the 12 tribes, which means Abraham was long gone and was nowhere around when this man supposedly his name was changed. Who changed his name? Why did the angel have to leave for daybreak? There was no name because God didn't change his name. And look at the story in the book of I think it's in the book of what is it? Under what Job's name was in my find that his name came up, that he wrestled with the angel. I'm trying to find that passage, and y'all forgive me, but it says Jacob's name changed to Israel. That was you look at. So if that was the case, what was the name originally? Well, then we got another problem. Everybody said that Israel been around, but according to the record, there was no historical fact for a place called Israel because there was nomadic until 1948. What do you mean 1948? If you look up the Balfour Declaration, Balfour Declaration, it was created for the despised Ashkenazis and what they call the not only the Ashkenazis, but there was another group that there we go. It was created in 1948. You know, yeah. So you had the Ashkenazis and the Sephardic Jews, and they were kicked out of Spain, and they had to create a place for them. So Britain, France, and the Americas came together in 1940. It started in 1917, but in 1948, they went in and took a large portion of the Gaza Strip, put these people in their own, what they call the Palestinians. Before the Palestinians, it belonged to the Canaanites. So that's why they're fighting like hell, because the Jews who were immigrants is encroaching more and more on the Palestinians in Israel because of the funding and backing for them is why they're so strong. So it's like they got high technology versus inferior weapons. What I want to get, I want to get the story of Christopher Columbus. I'm staying with this because if in 1489 the Sanhedrin came together in 1489, and they was trying to find a place to place these people, or something to do with these people that they were calling Jews. Now remember, you can't write the word Jew in the language, in the ancient language. Only in modern time when they add the nucleodes can you get, because there is no J in the Hebrew and there's no J in the ancient Greek. So how are you gonna write a name if you can't write it in your language and you can't spell it? How can you be it? Well, myself and Brother Dewar debated them in Dallas, Texas, at the Interfaith conference. It was the Muslims, it was the so-called Jewish nation, Christians was all there. So we debated them, and at that time, Rabbi David Lyons was on the stage, and I asked him, how did he speak the language? He said, yes, both ancient and modern. I said, well, how can you be a Jew if there's no J in your language? He said, because my mother said that I am. And the Ashkenazis come through the mother and not the way everybody got it laid out. I was shocked. So what we found out, if you go into the ancient language, and you can find the ancient language they're written for the so-called Yiddish, Alibayat, it's found in Psalms 119, I want you to go to Psalms 119. If you have a Bible, and top of each one of those verses, you got a letter. And under each letter, you have 8 verses. You wonder why Proverbs, Psalms, and Job is under poetry in the Bible, because they came from a different book. It came from a book called Numbers and Letters, Spell Breakers, How to Bind, How to Release. But if you look at the Bible, it's under poetry. So Psalms 119, it should be a word at the very top of that 119. So it says olive. It should be, if you go to the very, it should say olive. You want to look at the very top of the, let's see. It's we get the Bible and it says olive would be the first word. King James. Let's see. Pull up the scripture. Hold on. If you can pull the scripture up, it should be a word there, the complete. And it's Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. Those are the alphabets. Now they're giving you the scriptures, but there above each one of those, it's only 8 verses. Each one has 8 verses attached to it. This is what they use in the rabbinical order, among the Kabbalistic, they deal with the Kabbalah. They deal with these letters in order to deal with the alchemists. We mean changing things or letters. These are mystical letters. You'd actually need a Bible, because they're gonna give you the revised generic form of it. But it's Aleph, Beth, Gimel, Dalet, He, Y, Zion, Kret, Tek, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samik, Ayin, Pe, Tazeh, Kwa, Re, Shin, Ta. The 22 letters. And according to Zechariah Stitch's book, The Cosmic Code, he said these are the letters that's used to connect to the chromosomes in the Bible to open up certain passages for healing and deliverance. Well, they ain't never taught us that. I learned that by studying with the rabbinical order in North Dallas, out on Hillcrest, called Temple Emmanuel. So I stood with both the whites and the blacks. Now, they feast on it, but they know that they are Zionists. They are not, and they don't really wear the label. So you got the Zionists, you got the Ashkenazis, and the Sephardic. In the Bible, the Ashkenazis are actually Gentiles. I think it's Genesis 3 and around verse 10. I'm not mistaken. Now I'm doing it off the top of my head, people, because it's been a long time. But they are considered Gentiles. Ain't that odd? Now, those that claim to be Hebrew Israelites, you got to go back and do your reading, research, and review. Because in Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter and also 32nd chapter, it talks about another nation of people that came from the Mount Seir. They were called, you call it Jeshurun, it was called Yashurun, and there's another group called Yasharolah. Yasharolah. Those were the name they were using. Now, in Deuteronomy, so if you claim to be all these folks, well, no, that is not a mythical name of Israel, because you said that Herod was the king of Israel. Well, according to let's see, Deuteronomy, Sister Monica, the 33rd chapter, verse 1, 2, and 3. I use the Bible because you got 6.9 billion people that believe that the Bible is the word of God. You got many nations have sculpted themselves of their existence around by, because it's such a popular book. But that is one of the most misleading books, that book of confusion that we have, because a lot of things in there is not meant for the general public. So let's look at Deuteronomy. Then we getting it. Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter, beginning with verse 1. When you get it, would you please read? Because the writing is so small. And Sister Monica. And this is the big, and this is the, go ahead.
And this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death. And he said, the Lord came from Sinai and rose up from Seir. Unto them he shined from the Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000 of saints from his right hand when a fiery law for them. Yea, he loved the people, all his saints are in thy hand, and they sat down at thy feet. Everyone shall receive thy word.
Okay. You notice he used the word Israel, but remember, this is revised. They have revised all of this to fit the narrative. What's the next verse say?
Uh, go full the full chapter.
Yeah, I'm just going down. Yeah, watch.
Okay, so yea, he loved the people, and all his saints are in thy hand. They sat down at thy feet. Everyone shall receive thy words. Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of a congregation of Jacob. And
Watch
he
this.
was king in Jeshurun when the heads of the people and the tribes of Israel were gathered together. Let Reuben live and not die, and let not
Stop right
man,
there.
not his men be few.
It says, and he was king in Yashurun or Jeshurun when the heads of the people of the tribes of Israel were gathered together. I thought Herod was the first king of Israel. So who are these folks that Moses now king of? That came with 10,000 that came to this place in the wilderness. It ain't Israel. So who is Jeshurun or Yashurun, however you want to put it? 10 that came from Mount Seir, which Mount Seir in South America. So who are these people? And not only that, if you go to the 26th verse of that particular 33rd chapter, will you go there and read? And watch this. 33:26.
There is none like unto the God of Jeshurun, who rideth upon the heaven in thy help, and in his excellency on the sky.
Does it say Israel? No. So who are these chosen people? Huh? There is none like the God of Jeshurun who rides. Now, come on. Moses, the king of them, and they are the people that so you run around with all these labels and ain't done the research. Any questions so far?
No, I don't have any.
So I'm sorry, go ahead, love.
So Jeshurun, could they say that that's another word for Israel or
It can't be.
Ishra? You know, maybe it
Yeah,
was pronounced
because in
differently.
order to do so, you got to get rid of Herod. They say Herod was the first king of Israel. Here is Moses is the king of Yashurun. They try to say that, but it won't work because these folks came from Mount Seir, not from Egypt. This group, 10,000 strong, came from Mount Seir. They didn't come out of Egypt. There's no Mount Seir in Egypt. The agriculture, the timeline, or the geography will not fit. They try to say that even the so-called whites say it won't work, bro. Look at it.
So where was Mount Seir at?
Mount Seir is out of South America, near the Rio Negro River, out of Argentina, off in that area. You can look it up. Not Mount Seir. When it got the valley, it didn't say valley. It said mount, the mountain.
Okay, let's go back up here. All right, so Seir.
Yeah, what Seir? Yeah,
Lord
yeah.
came from Sinai and rose up from Seir.
Seir is you got to look at.
Seir. And he shined forth from Mount Paran.
Mount what?
Paran, Paran,
Okay.
and it came with 10,000 of saints from his right hand when a fiery law for them.
So
So
that's
that's
where it
Mount
came, Mount
Paran.
Paran. Mount Paran. Where's the piranha fish found at? Where's the real nigger found at? It's over there in South America. Land, linguistics, geography, etc., etc. Then it come from Egypt through the Red Sea. They came from a whole nother location. Look at Deuteronomy 32 and 15.
Okay.
I'm showing people they grab these labels and haven't did the research on it because it won't fit the narrative. We're using the
So they're
Bible
saying that
narrative.
the wilderness of Paran is often associated with the Mount Sinai in Egypt, and there's
That's
some
not
evidence
true.
that it may.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So they're saying the desert or of Paran or wilderness of Paran is a location mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. Was one of the places where the Israelites spent part of their years of wandering after the Exodus.
Yeah, you're right. But it says Mount Paran. Then the wilderness. It didn't say wilderness, it says mountain. And if you go look it up and do more, you got to do in-depth research because remember, these are Christian apologists trying to fit this thing into a narrative to present a story that's mythological.
Hmm.
It's allegorical. It's allegorical because the book says an allegory. And we'll go there in just a minute. But I'm showing this YashaBiyah. All these folks look at Deuteronomy 32. I think it looks around verse 13 through 15, I believe it is. Like I said, I'm coming up top of my head, and I may make a misstep, not intentionally, but I'm trying to show you the footprint. Do you happen to have that? I'm gonna show you something else.
What was
Then,
it?
then,
30?
then I'm gonna
What?
get to our people. No, it's
30.
32, Deuteronomy 32nd, and let's go around 13, 14, and 15. See what that says. Why are we doing it? Because everybody rely on the Bible to give them their foundation and to be able to give them credibility. And when it's not credible, you know.
So he made him ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields, and he made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter of kine, and milk of sheep, with fat lambs and rams of the bread of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys of wheat. And thou didst drink the
Mm.
pure blood of the grape. But Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook God which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation.
So who did what? Who got fat?
Jeshurun.
Okay, it didn't say Israel, did it?
No.
No. And who he's the God of? The God of Jeshurun. Want to use that word J, but actually it's Yashurun. You cannot make that be Israel because they was in the wilderness, they was begging for meat and manna. These folks are getting fat. They were out there saying, we're tired of eating this manna. Can we have some meat? So he said in doves. These folks is rich. Now, ain't that all? Now, according to the scripture, the story of Abraham is an allegory because the 11 chapters of the book is Jewish myth. Well, we want to go back and talk about and see who Abraham's daddy was, Tishma. All the way back, you go all the way back through up until Noah. All that's mythology. Go to Galatians 4, 20 and 21. They call it cherry picking, but this how it's laid out. This is the chronology. This is how this thing, and you are told about that, these things. You know, there's a book people need to get. It's called The History of the English Bible from the KJV to the NIV by Jack P. Lewis. Every preacher needs it. Then we'll get
All
on the
right.
other subject. Okay.
I desire to be present with you now and to change my voice, for I stand in doubt of you. Tell me, ye that desire to be under the law, do
Right.
you not hear the law?
Keep reading.
Okay. Sorry. You got to tell me. I'm gonna just start doing the full chapter. Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, love.
All right. What'd you say? What was it? 4 and what?
Fourth chapter, starting
21.
with verse 20. Yeah, 21.
Okay, tell me, ye that desire to be under the law, do ye not hear the law? For it is written that Abraham had two sons, one by a bondmaid and the other by a free woman. But he who was the bondwoman
Mhm.
was born after the flesh, but he of the free woman was by promise, which things are an allegory
Mhm.
for those two covenants. The one from Mount Sinai, which gendereth to bondage, which is Agar, for this Agar is Mount Sinai in
Mhm.
Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which now is, and is in bondage with her children. But Jerusalem, which above is free, which is mother of us all. Should I keep going?
So, no, that's the word allegory. So, for these things are allegories. What you're looking at is two covenants. It's not about an actual event. This is about an allegory, which is telling a story that has a different meaning. Because they know that Abram, whose name was changed to Abraham by adding an H. Why would he add an H to the letter? To Sarah, they added the H, and to Abram, they added the H. And we run around with these labels and jackets, not doing the research. And that's where that come in at. And like I said, not that I care, but you telling these folks all these things, and your story does not fit the narrative. Based on, you can cherry pick the book and do that, but here's some people you got to realize the book has been retranslated over 1,700 times, been revised in all kind of languages. If you go back to the original text, it don't say all of that.
Well,
So
I
take
want
the
to, before
text.
we even get even deeper into this, I want to get your background so people will even know, like, who is this guy? Who is Baba YashaBiyah
My
for him,
name,
to be breaking it down and telling us all this? Who are you to tell us that
well, I
this
am
is our allegory?
okay. Well, uh, my but anyway, the name was Alvin back, but that was the name was given me, and they called it a Christian name, but that was a slave name. And I grew up in the church, the Holiness Church, and as I grew up, at the age of 12, I was prophesying, and I had what we call discerning spirit. I was divining at that age, and as I began, and in 1973, the voice of awakening came to me and told me that it wanted me to go back and find our people and go through all religions in depth and find our people. So I went on a quest, and I've been a part of most mainstream religions, because religion means to take into bondage and to hold in bondage. I went in search of an identity. That's how they had me doing. I also have a doctorate degree in theology. I pastored 48 years as a pastor in the church. I travel as a national evangelist. I travel across the country. I did time in the military. And then I wrote two books, one from Adam to Antioch, Black Man's Plight and Biblical History. Then I wrote another book called The Other Side of Slavery, The Untold Story. And then we did a thing called the true clock, the true celestial clock, or we call it Zodiac, uh, for our people, which has 13 months in it. Uh, so we created that back in 2000. I've been on this journey. I got initiated at that time, I came through the house of Santeria. And in my studying with the Santeros, I found out that Ifa is the mother of all of these, they call occult religions, a religion. I found out that Ifa is not a religion, but is a science of geometry. It is a binary code and an algorithm for communicating with the fourth and fifth dimension. Although we're in the third dimension, we've dropped a little bit lower. So in my study of years, about 60 years, also I studied with Dick Gregory. I studied under Dr. Ben, Ishaka Musa Barrett Shango, LaRon Bennett, Ivan Van Serma, because my name was called Amaliki when they first brought me in under the name of Amaliki. And that was Ben Serma named me Amaliki. He's the author of The Came Before Columbus. Then Barry Shango, Dick Gregory, I studied under him when he started out with his thing with Bohemian Diet. I was in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for many, many years. So I am one of the oldest elders of Babylon of the indigenous people that they call Africa. I call them Akibilan in the Dallas-Fort Worth areas. I've been studying this a long time. I've been around with Baba with Oba Kabi AC, with his father, and the list goes on. Matter of fact, I was Babylon long before Chief Fayomi came in, who at that time in the 90s was working with the rosters. And I was studying and teaching back then. We had a school located in the old where Ascertain is. We used to have a school inside the lobby there in Oak Cliff. We also started a Yoruba class there studying the language. The lady's name was Aulade. She owns a store in Dallas, over in South Dallas, across from Helen's. Her name is Olade. So that, and I taught for years that okay, the same thing I'm talking about now. And we found out it was high time to really separate the misconceptions for people to grow thereby. And that's a somewhat basic of who I am. And I'm still teaching. I still go online and I still do reading. And I've been
Right, and then
initiated.
you're at the young age. You're in your 70s, at a very young age of your 70s, and you're
I'm
still kicking and
79.
teaching. 79 years old,
Yep.
still kicking.
Yeah.
Tell me your connection with the actual Hebrew Israelite church when it came down to Baba Amin and your connection with them.
I came.
Not
When
Baba
I
Amin,
came into
Baba
they
Ben Amin.
Ben Amin, the Hebrew Israelite community.
Yes.
Okay, well, I got involved in the Hebrew community. Must have been around in my search for truth around about the 1990s, and that's because they heard me lecturing at a particular event that they was having, and they came to me to become a member of their organization, and they flew me to a particular place in Cincinnati. And then I went, and then I found out they had two different groups. One was Orthodox, which only followed the Old Testament, and another group was Messianic, which Ben Amin them followed. They followed the thing about this Emmanuel, the Messiah, Jesus, the Messiah. Then we studied with them. Then I wound up with a group out of Mississippi called the House of Israel Cultural Center under Rabbi Divine. Also was able to work with a group out of Chicago called the House of Israel, Rabbi Hobbs. Then in South Carolina, there was a guy by the name of Rabbi Nolan. So I traveled all over, like I said, and then studying with the white, you use the word, but that's what they were, the European so-called Jews, Zionists. I studied with them, and I got a lot of history because I was studying the Kabbalah with them. I was studying various other to tell Cup things that they were doing. So I learned some things from them. And basically a lot of this history that I'm talking about came from them because they're the one that gave us the book. They gave us the book that we call the Bible that we look at now, the 1881 version. Are you aware that there is a She Bible, 1613?
A She Bible?
The 1613 She Bible. Are you aware that that's another book that
No, I never.
Would you type in Google the 1613 King James She Bible? A lot of folks never see it. And you were very fortunate, Sister Monica, 'cause right there in Dallas, you got one of the only 3 copies. Is one of the copies in Dallas at the main library downtown on the 7th floor in what they call in humanities.
Oh wow, it's $5,000 to get that Bible.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
The first edition Quarto King James Bible Black Letter, $5,000. A 1613 Bible.
It's called the She Bible.
The She Bible.
Yeah, and a lot of things, everything in there deal with the feminine energy.
Wow.
It deal with the. Oh yeah, I've had a chance to sit up there in the archives there in Dallas downtown, and I've had a chance to look through that book. Now you cannot go in there and they want you to copy no pages out of it. You can't really touch it, but you can sit there with white gloves and go through it. I've done that because I know that's why I know where it's at. And the most people never heard of it's even deeper than your 1611. Now who gonna pay $5,000?
So there's a She Bible that talks about everything from the divine feminine, but they make it so that you can only look through it with gloves in a museum.
Yes, ma'am. Downtown.
In some archive
they
place.
ain't told the library. Yeah, downtown. You can go and request to see it, and they'll carry you up there. Somebody's gonna stand and watch. You can put white gloves on. You're gonna sit down. They're gonna turn the pages for you.
Wow, really? I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go down there. Do you have to have a special like who you are or like get your
Well, now back in the day they didn't, because wasn't many folks knew about it would ask it. So now what they've done, they changed so many rules. But now, yes, ma'am. So I went down. I carried my group. We went down there. We only going there one at a time.
Wow. So they have an actual copy of the
never heard of it.
Wow.
Huh?
So yeah, that's crazy. It's called the She Bible, y'all. Go look it up. The 1613 She Bible. And when I typed in this, it came up. First edition Quarto King Bible Black Letter.
$5,000. Man, we can't get folks pay $5. There's a lot of things in there that you need to know, but because you can't afford to get it, you won't know.
And this is the picture of it right here, the She Bible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And used to be a group around.
They got a page of it for $35. That's crazy.
Yeah. There used to be a group that went around with this Bible on tour, and it was they had it out there near the in North Dallas. So myself and the group, because we had a group that I called the it was called the Bet Yehuda there in Dallas back in 2000. Myself and Brother Dewar, and we had a school there in Oak Cliff off of Keys Boulevard. So I carried the group out there, and we spent a whole day out there one day, and we went through all the various Bibles, and guess what? The She Bible wasn't there, because it ain't but 4 copies. Ain't but 4 copies. They said it was that had one's in Dallas, I think one's in the Vatican, and a couple of other places. And I said, he said, yeah, Dallas. So the guy that was the curator was doing the presentation, and he told us where to go in down. We went straight downtown, and I went and said, whoa. Because at that time, I was a strong believer in Jesus, man. I was Christian to the bone. You understand? And I wanted to see this. When I read that, I was floored.
So what things did you see in this Bible?
It talks about the feminine energy and the creation of the world. It talks about the just, I can't think of everything. It was so much to try to digest. I'm going like, oh my goodness. But folk can argue with you. But see, everybody, and the word he in the Hebrew is not he, him. It is he, she, her. Who is him is who, and she is he. I studied that. Then I went on and I went on and got the ancient text itself. both for Torah and the Tanakh. I wouldn't because I have a large library, and then just a minute. Where is it?
This is why, like, it's great to, like, have a library of our elders and, like, discuss things with our elders, because we some of these things are just things that you could just look it up on Google, but it's another thing to have a person that's seen it, that can tell you where to look, tell you where to find things. Okay, so if people are real researchers, I hope that y'all are tuned in and taking notes of where he's saying. Okay, 1613 She Bible, all that stuff. So take notes on all this stuff. Okay, all
I've
right, and
got it.
that
This is the Torah, okay, in the ancient language. I have 1,500 books in my library, and this is the Torah, the ancient so-called Hebrew. There's not no such thing as ancient Hebrew. That is in this book. It look like hieroglyphs.
bring it up, bring it
It's
up
read.
even further. I want people to look at that. Look at this. So this is the Torah. Bring it up closer. That does not look like Hebrew. It looks like some other. Wow.
Yeah, right.
That does look like a hieroglyphic language. Wow.
Yeah.
So they're arguing
And I
that
have
Hebrew, that the actual Bible was written in Greek, and that's interesting that you have that. So
no, it was not. It's written in this. It was called. They call it cuneiform. Cuneiform, and it was called the file language. The guy name was Zachariah Stitchin, because each one of these deal with a geometry angle, and in this geometry angle, in each letter, and each one of those letters has a number attached to it. Yeah.
So let's talk about language when we talk about, like, numbers and language, like Hebrew is as an actual language, and because I understood
Hebrew
that
is not okay, I'm sorry, but now they labeled it Hebrew. But remember, that is a misunderstanding. There's no such thing as a Hebrew language, because the word Hebrew. Look up the etymology of the word Hebrew while you're on there. What does it mean? Etymology. If you use etymology, timeline, chronology, and linguistics, it'll keep you out of a lot of trouble. So the origin of the word, beginning, the word Hebrew, where did the word Hebrew come from? Let's just have a class here, because people grab it. I speak Hebrew. You don't speak that. They put a label on it.
So it says from the
English,
old
what it say?
French Hebrew
Hebrew.
via Latin, from late Greek Hebraios, from Aramaic Hebrai, based on Hebrew Ibri, understanding to mean one from the other side of the river.
That's all it means. It's like an immigrant. The one thing that Trump trying to get out of here, they will be considered Hebrews or Hebrew. Same thing with Abraham. Let's go to Genesis, I think it is, the 10th chapter. I think it might be the 43rd verse. Ask where did the first word Hebrew appear in the Bible? And I think he's going to say Abraham was the first Hebrew. Is everybody all right?
Yeah. Genesis chapter 10.
Okay. I think it's verse
43.
43 or thereabout. It said when Abraham was, when he was first called a Hebrew.
Genesis chapter 10, 43.
I think so, but it might be. I'll just ask the question: Abraham, the first Hebrew, and where's it found in the Bible? You might have to do it that way. And you know, it just said it mean one to cross over. I appreciate you
Genesis
doing the research because
14:13.
it's the only way we can. Okay, would you read? Where's it found that love?
Oh, here. You know what? This is
You want to stick to KJV because everybody claims what they get so many different Bibles. But I stick with the KJV because the old one everybody seems to hang on to, the 1881 edition.
okay. So let's go to Bible. Let's bring that up. You guys gotta excuse me. I'm bringing it up as it's coming to me. So
Yeah, well, we're in class. We learn it. That way when we get out of class, you can't say it ain't so. We giving you documentation, which beats the conversation.
all right,
All
and there
right.
came one that had escaped and told Abraham the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite brother
Yeah.
of Eshcol, and the brother of Aner, and these were the confederate with Abraham.
Okay. But we want to find out when it was the first Hebrew. There you go. Let's see. He came from Sodom. He came from over from Mesopotamia. And
And they took
it
all
was
the
from the
good from Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way. And they took Lot, Abraham's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite brother of Eshcol, the brother of Aner, and those were the confederate with Abraham.
Okay, you want the etymology of the word Hebrew itself. Etymology. We did that. Okay, we did the etymology. And it came from the word Hebrew. So the word Hebrew is a late translation of the word.
Mm.
See? It didn't exist before then. The same thing about the word God. There was no word God until the Germanic people, better known as Vikings and like that, the Goot people came up with the word God. There was no word for God until then. The word that they use in the like it says in beginning God, that's not there. According to this text right here, the word is Alahayam. Bara, it says Barashit Bara Alahayim Hasamayim Wa'adet. That's what's in this book. In the beginning, the feminine breath created the heavens and the earth.
Mm. And was that book from Zechariah Sitchin, or is that like the ancient Torah before?
No. This is from the Zachary. No. This book is from the white youth, the white Zionist or Jewish temple that I got this. They know what it looks like. They know.
Right. So I always question, why does not the Hebrew Israelites go into the Torah, the actual, instead of like just reading it from King James, why don't they actually go to
Because
temple and
most of
get
them
the
kept
actual original version of the Torah from that and then translate?
because most of them can't speak because it went from this to what they call Babylonian script, and it went from that to Yiddish. They were trying to get this language to fit their speech pattern, their dialect. And this is actually called the fire language of our ancestors.
File language, FA?
Yeah, fire. Like fire. When we spoke this language, things happened, and
The
they knew it.
fire, like actual fire language. This is the fire language.
Yeah, because it was so powerful and had so much intensity to it. You could actually feel it. It made things happen. It's connected to the universe in your body.
You know, it's interesting. I just
The
got
book's
finished
written.
interviewing. I interviewed a guy named Unk 607, right? And he talked about he talked about somebody named Sophia. He said that he's a called a Gnostic, right? And he
Right.
talked about that Sophia was the mother. So you have God, you have the Holy Spirit, and you have, God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit. He said that Sophia is the Holy Spirit, and that I guess in the understanding of Gnostic, she would be the mother of Jesus, right? And then he talked
No.
about the fact that I'm just going to let you know what he said. He said
Okay.
that that the language is the thing that the speaking, when we had the Tower of Babel, people they were telepathic, but our ability to speak and combine with telepathy made us more powerful. And that because Babel was not about speaking, but about telepathy. And then when we were able to speak words, that was the thing that gave us our power. So I'm not sure if the Gnostics knew something different.
He's
I don't
put
know.
he's pretty well on point, except the fact, like it says, but when you're going, if you go into scripture, with the Tower of Babel, everybody was went there had a different language, and that's where the problem came in. You know, now the funny thing is, if Noah had these sons, and when he went, if you look at the in the matter of fact, just go to Genesis and go back to around the 9th chapter, and start reading there. Just open it up. Shem had his language. Ham had his language. He's one. How in the hell everybody had a different language in the same house? Go there.
That's why he was saying that they were able to speak telepathically because everybody had different languages, so they were able to communicate with each
Well, I
other
mean,
without.
while I was, my question: if y'all in the same household, came out of the same region, why would everybody have a different language if they in the same house? So how many different languages did Noah speak? These are your sons, Ham, Shem, and
Right,
Japheth. And everybody in your house speak a different language. Same man, same mama. We got a problem. So
right.
Genesis chapter 9, and once they distribute the generation, Ham distributed, and it tells you every man's book. So just open it up. We have to look at things from a critical eye and not from the emotions. Because our big thing was, sister, was trying to find an identity.
And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And the fear of you, the dread of you, shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth. Do you want to go further down, or where are we going to go with
Going
this?
down, because you got to get into the generation. What's that? It says in the generation. This is the generation of so and so, so and so.
These are the three sons of Noah, and all of them were was the whole earth overspread. And Noah began to be an
Mm-hmm.
husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, drank of the wine, and was
Yeah, man.
drunken, uncovered within his tent. Da, 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 da. So
We want to go. We want to go to the generation of Ham. Which one would be that? Would be in that'd be on the generation of Ham. Generation of Ham.
let's see if
Yeah.
we bring me right to it.
10:1. Okay. Now this is the generation of Ham. It goes right there.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. Okay,
You see
so
Ashkenazi?
I don't know.
Go back up. Go back up. Right there said
Now
the
these are
son
the
was born in
generations of the
Ashkenazi.
sons of Noah: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. None of them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth: Gomorrah and Magog and Madai and Javan and Tubal and Meshech and Tiras. The sons of Gomorrah: Ashkenaz, Riphath,
Yep.
to Gomar, and the sons of Javan: Elisha, Tarshish, Kitam, Dodan, Nim, and
These are the
by these
from
were the isles of the Gentiles divided into their lands, every one after his
and
tongue, families, and the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan.
so they were what of the isles of the Gentiles. Huh. But if you get down further, it says, and everybody spoke his own language. It's all off in
Mm,
there. Like I said, I got doing a better job, but it's giving you an overlook. So each one of these guys, if you keep going to the bottom, it would say that they had their own language.
okay,
Now we got a problem.
right.
You know, So you know, you got to look at this thing with.
So here's the deal. So
You know,
right now you have a lot of Hebrew Israelites that'll be like, oh, so they'll say stuff like, you know, we're not, you know, we're the Hebrew Israelites, we're not Hamites, we are above, you know, we don't, you know, the Bible says we should not connect with the Hamites or the Gentiles or whatever, and blah blah blah, and then they'll like make that a reason, like, well, no, I'm not connected to Africa.
well, you know, it's sad, and like I said, I don't want nobody to come to across, but they're not doing research, and they're only going by, we call it echoology, echo theory. They're parroting what somebody say without reading, researching, reviewing. They're not going into the history, because like I said, even at that, when we went back and did the chronology on the Bible, 4004 BC, we went back 35,000 years to one group. We can go back further than that. What were they and what were they doing? Which I will get into. We talk about the Yoruba connection, because the Yorubas claim that they're the lost tribe of Israel. How can be the lost tribe of Israel? I don't mean to laugh, but it's funny. When the man that created the Yoruba concept told you to adopt it, that was not your original name. And it wasn't no 30 million of you left out of Egypt. The sad thing about it, they was on a quest trying to find identity too. So
What about the Igbo?
that
I know
was
a lot of Igbo people will say that they came
the
from
Igbo.
Egypt and they were
The Igbo has got a different story altogether, but you got more people over the claim to be of the Yoruba than you got of Igbo. I love the Igbo because I know the chief there. She may be transitioned now to live there. No clip and went. She had a African clothing store. I used don't like using that there in Wynwood there for years. Chief got her name, but she was a chief that sat among the chief over there among the Igbos, and she was telling me about their customs. So when I found out about when they divine with 2 chains. They got a book called Before God. It's called Dibia. Before God, there was Dibia. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of Dibia. Yeah, I've heard of Dibia.
You've heard that they had a book, volume 1 and volume 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says before God, there was Dibia.
So was Dibia the god?
It's as he said before God. So, and it's a feminine energy. Just a minute.
Okay.
Okay, just a minute.
So Dibia, because I know that there is a religion called Dibia.
Okay. Just give me a minute to check
I
my
think they
shelf, man.
practice Dibia in parts of Jamaica. They have a thing called Dibia. So I think that we have a whole lot of people that have come from Africa in different tribes, and you have like the Dibia, you have the this, you have the that. But yeah, that's interesting.
Like I told you.
God and Dibia.
Oh, y'all see my library. Oh, my sister. I spent
Right, so that
thousands
they
of
have
dollars.
2 chains instead of, so it's no longer a
Yeah,
binary code; it's a quadratic code.
right. And I learned a lot from them dealing with that. I'm going like, whoa, hold up. This is the Igbo.
So the
Okay.
Igbo have the quadratic code, and the Yoruba have the binary code.
So and then they've been around long. They say before they're older. They're like they're older than Adam and Eve. So now we got another problem.
And see, I was looking up the whole thing about like thinking that the Igbo and the Yoruba were probably the Levitical priest of the time in that area, coming from Egypt. But now it's like no, this was something else. So
No. Yeah. sister, please forgive me, but when you start talking, I start pulling.
Because I did a whole, I'm not sure, I did a whole presentation about there was a connection between the Hebrew Israelites and Ephah and Dibia, well, not Dibia, and West African tradition. But you're saying that these things were not connected.
That's right.
They were separate
According to what they were
and
telling me.
existed beforehand.
Yeah.
Wow. How long did they exist beforehand?
That's the question. And you have to get into the studies of it. But it talks about the divination system and I'm going like, whoa. And then they got
So
this
why do you
other
think
one.
the Bible forbade the divinations? Why do you think that the Hebrew, well, not the Hebrew, with the Jews at the time made it that divination was considered to be sorcery and an evil thing to do? Why do you think that happened?
They lied. Exodus, the 28th chapter. You go there, please. Exodus, the 28th chapter.
Okay, let me read it. And take thou unto thee
Okay.
Aaron thy brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest office, even Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother for glory and beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt speak unto all that are wise hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom. And they make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister unto me in the priest office. And these are the garments which they shall make: breastplate and ephod and a robe and a broidered coat.
Right there. Go back to that word ephod. The ephod, they say, is the breastplate that carried the Urim Thummim in it for divination. For divination. So look up, and so it said they're going to take the ephod from, but if you look in Samuel, David used the ephod. He used the ephod, and the ephod, the same thing, they lie, is the same thing as our opele. Go to, that's what got me going with when I was studying this, and in the priesthood, I kept seeing that. And I went to it. I said, wait a minute. So the ephod, if you look it up, the Urim Thummim is our system. See where is that at? Samuel. Is our system that's in ephod. So it's a Chinese king. It's in they took our system and created it. Yeah, the king.
Yeah, I know about the
call
king.
it. Well, that's also a part of ephod. I mean, that's part of the ephod system. The short line, the long line. Everybody has a way of expressing it, but it all.
So which one came before? Did the
ephod came before all of them? Ephod came before all of them because it's way older than all of them. Let me try to find this in the book of. I think it's in Samuel. The book of
Urim
Samuel.
and Thummim. Here we go.
Yeah. What? Look it up. What does it say?
The Urim and Thummim were sacred objects, meaning lights and perfections. Hebrew paste placed in the breastplate of the high priest, used to seek divine guidance and revelation from God.
Stop. To look for what? Divine guidance and revelation from God. So how could it be evil when God gave something to him to get it?
Yeah.
If God told him to get it for the purpose of getting to communicate with him for the sake of conversation, he didn't tell him to go pray. He said, what? Use this to communicate with me. So what's up with what everybody doing?
Yeah.
wait, no, hold on. If we're gonna do this, do it right. How you gonna? He didn't want you divine to any other entities with the tools. But do you not know they divine at every football game and every baseball game?
Right. They throw that coin, huh?
They
See who
toss that coin in there, decide who gonna receive, who gonna kick off. That's a form of divination.
Mm.
I want to show you something here. Just a momento. Yeah, just a momento here. I think it's going to be in it might be the second chapter, third chapter. Just give me a second, but since we have a little class, yeah,
Right.
you know.
So before Urim and Thummim, there was Ifa.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
All right. So so Thummim is innocent, and the Urim is curses.
Yeah.
So curses
So,
and innocent, curse or faultless. So basically, when they would figure out whether or not something was wrong, whether it was cursed or faultless, that's a binary system.
yeah, they would throw that, and I'm trying to find it because I want
So
to.
was this like some things in their breastplate they would bring out and throw it down, or would it light up or something?
It was like two onyx stones with markings on them. In the first chapter of Samuel, 29th verse, go to verse 6. I will not know them, but go to verse 6, 7, and 8. They call it casting lots. There's a time called the time of preem. This is where they use our system. First
First,
Samuel chapter 30, verse 5 and 6. Now shows because here shows the anxiety and anger of the people, and they wanted to kill David. Check this out.
okay. First Samuel.
Verse 30.
What 5?
No,
Which verse? Uh oh, we lost him. Huh. Man, we were about to get into it. We might have lost him. We might have to man, listen, every time I do these lives, something crazy happens, but people be listen, we are getting into it, and it's crazy that his phone goes down. Let's see. If it just rings, I know that if it just goes straight to voicemail. Me neither. Yeah, click it, click it again. Okay. Yeah. So we're getting hot on the presses with it, but I think he said Samuel 30. Let's see. Let's just go to 30. Okay. I'm trying to find. Okay, here we go. All right, he's back.
yeah.
All
Okay.
right, so you said Samuel 1.
First Samuel, the 30th chapter. Let's go to verse 4, 5, and 6, and 7.
4, Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's two wives were taken captives, Anohim and the Jezreelites, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal and the Carmelite. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all people were grieved, every man for his son and for his, is this the right one?
Yeah, they finna kill the king.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Palestinians came back, burned the city, took their wives and children away. They were suffering. They were upset. They mad to come home. Your wife ain't there. Your kids ain't there. Now we got to blame somebody. Well, we got to blame David, because David want to let us off. Let's kill him. Everybody being no king. Let's kill him. Let's kill him. Now, David know he can't fight everybody. So what did David do? Read.
Okay. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people were grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. And David said to Abiathar the priest and Ahimelech's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought thither the ephod to David. And David inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all.
The word there, and David inquired. When we inquire, when we throw the chain and stuff, what are we doing?
Asking a question.
Inquiring. Trying to get answers, right? And God answered him through the ephod. It couldn't be those stones. It had to be the tools they were using. Those stones.
Yeah, because Abiathar brought the ephod to David, and David inquired. So he asked him, "Hey, I don't know what to do. Bring the ephod to me."
Yeah.
What is the ephod? What is the ephod?
The ephod was what we call the opele chain. They say the breastplate ain't gonna do shit. It's what was they would say was in it. That's a misunderstanding. Let me slow down. The Jews told that it was about the 12 stones. Them stones didn't talk. It was what was inside the ephod. And it was called
right. So it was like an apron that had certain like things,
stones of each tribe.
And then he would put that on and ask a question.
No, the answer was in the bag, in behind the breastplate. It was a pouch. It was a pouch.
So I guess this is supposed to be like what the ephod. Right. Something like this.
That's deception. The real ephod is what we call the opele.
Okay. So they're making what they do. They cast opele and asked a question and then got the answer.
Yeah.
Whether they put the outfit on, asked a question, or they did that, whatever, the oracle said.
He didn't put no outfit on. He said, bring me the ephod. He said, bring me the robe. Bring me the ephod. So it had to be separate. I don't need the robe. The robe can't help me.
So they're saying that it was some type of an apron.
Yeah, that's not it.
So all this was going on, and then he said, bring me the ephod. And then he got the ephod. He didn't say he put it on.
No, he inquired and he cast it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
He inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue? He ain't said I put the robe on and ask. He didn't have time, because he about to get stoned to death. I ain't got time to play with this. Come on, God, talk to me. I ain't got to be doing no praying with no sign. What shall I do? And ephod is the only immediate answer system that we have today by casting.
And that's the interesting thing. Ephod.
Yeah. And we get quick answers. Whether you agree with it or not, or follow it, you get an answer.
Right. So let's get into ephod. Let's get into ephod real quick. Let's go into the origins of ephod.
Okay.
And the connection to the true connection to the Israel.
Okay. Well, when we get into Ephah, we find out that Ephah is a science and is a binary system designed for communication. Same thing we just read here. But everybody claims that it's not a cultural ethnicity thing. It's about communication with the divine, with the celestial side. And our ancestors was doing this as far back. I can go back 200,000 years. I can go further than that back, but I scared the shit out of folks when I say Ephah go back 2.5 billion years. What you mean? Well, 2.5 billion years ago, our ancestors was able to communicate with a nuclear reactor they had been designed in South Africa. And if you look at at what they call the chips or the system, you got two old Pele chains laying there with markings on them. These are the markings that they use to fire up the system. Now, so how could it be? Look up reactor found in South Africa 2.5 billion years ago. I did a video on YouTube. You know, now you can die what you want. You can go with that Bible story, but we've been here almost over 2.5 billion years, and we moved from over here to over there. And at one time it was one mass land. And that's why Africa is considered the heart, because that particular part, which is turned upside down, that is not the right way, it's turned upside down. It is in the center, like a heart. Because the guy that drew the map drew it upside down, like a little more, have more, and it's not. If I can tell you, it's upside down. And it was called Alkebulan, not Africa. Africa is a conquered name done by Afrikaners, the invader. Okay, and they redrew the map. Horace Greeley, them all drew these maps up. But the real map that Doc Ben say is the land is called Alkebulan, and it's been drawn upside down. What you got here?
So it's called the Oklo phenomenon. It's located in the Oklo uranium mines near the town of Franceville, Gabon, West Africa, not South Africa. The nuclear reactions
Okay.
occurred within the rich uranium ore body over a period of at least 100,000 years, some 2 billion years ago. Was that the one you're speaking of?
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
The self-sustaining nuclear
And
reaction.
Yeah. And it says that when you're looking, and when we looked at the map, when they had a picture of it, land right next to it, they had four images. You might see that. When I looked at it, it was the Opele chain, and it was showing the markings.
I gotta find that one.
Yep. Well, I think I got it. I think it's on my video. 2 point Baba YashaBiyah in Dallas, 2.5 billion years of Ephah, and it's on my video, because I got a video out there on YouTube that they can look at that will follow that. I know some of this may sound strange, foreign, unbelievable. I'm not asking you to believe nothing. Yeah, that's me. There I am. I'm not asking you to believe nothing. I'm saying, if I don't believe nothing, I'm saying, but I ask you to do the research. Don't go jump off the hill till you know what you jumping off into.
It's called Baba YashaBiyah 2.4. 2 billion years of Ephah.
I got that. Yeah, I got that little blue front on. Matter of fact, when I met with the high priest there from Benin, we both dressed just alike. We were there together, and he was the top man of dealing with from Benin, and he was here doing some work. Let's see, you go back. Let's see, it should be a table. There's one of the tables. Matter of fact, that's one. And to the right, you recognize that pattern to the right.
Mm-hmm.
What pattern is that? They only gave this fool one hand. They didn't give him both of them.
That's not Irete Meiji. Which one is it?
I think it might be that. I'm not sure. I have to go look at it, but you can hear it. And they only gave him one hand. He thought he was gonna get the whole thing. 18 years, only got one. And that's because the guy sold him, just gave him some ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want you. So I'm gonna put this in y'all, so y'all can like check this out at some point. But yeah, he's breaking it down
Yeah.
where there is two there. You know, where he breaks down years ago. How many years ago was this? This was like in 9 years
Yeah.
ago, where he talks
So
about
this is
like
nothing new.
the fractals
Yeah.
at the heart of African designs. So
Yeah, he's called African fractals. And that's what he probably is.
mm,
And you got folks getting degrees to study it over in Africa. And when he got over there, they only gave him one hand. He didn't get both.
they gave him one hand to be I didn't give him the other one so that he couldn't find out the
Yeah,
rest.
but they only gave him one side and didn't give him the other. Because, like you said, it's more than just that. Like what you said among the evil, it's more than just what we get. We all getting a hand. Because there's a masculine side and a feminine side. One is read from the right to left, and one read from left to right, and one right to left.
So females should
Like
not be
you
read
said,
right to left or left to, they should be read a certain way.
no, yeah, and that's what the problem is. We trying to make it a cookie cutter when it's not a cookie cutter. Another thing is, from the day you came to the planet and arrived on the planet, the month you came in, the day what those orisas are, that's the one that really governs your head and your power, because that's what you come here with. They one is going to be your spirit guide and walk you through this journey that you on. Well, a lot of folks don't know that. And if you count up the month, the day, and the year, whatever comes up at the balance, that is the old dude that you came in here under.
So is that the same thing as astrology? What's the difference between that and astrology?
That's where we think it came from. Who
Came from
they got
Ifa.
stuff from?
Mm.
From us, Ifa. Of course, you got to disguise it and flip it here and flip it there and scratch this and remove that to make it. But when it's all said and done, when the dust settles, we're still looking at Ifa. I said, man, remember, if I take the month and the date of the week that I came in the world, and even with now with the bad year it is, even with the number, you're gonna wind with one of those overdues, and you can go back and read it and tell you what your destiny is, what you expect. It's all right there.
So this
So I
is
ain't
the
gotta go
beginning
pay
of
no
astrology.
$10,000 fine. What mounts my head? The day I came in, draw the first breath in this third dimension, those that came with me is still with me. Even though we know that the Ori is the most powerful, the Ori have to recognize it. But these are the energies. This is why on Wednesday, they call Wednesday, that's Wooten. Well, among us, that's Yemuja, right? Wooten is a Viking god. So every time you're doing of the oppressor, you're giving him more power over your spirituality and over you.
Mm.
Run around, I'm a Taurus and I'm a Capricorn. You're still enforcing your own demise. Why you're having hell? Because you're operating under the wrong sign. You're flying the wrong flag. I did a thing on that at Pan African. It's on their YouTube. It's called Fighting for the New Millennium. You know, that's what's behind me on the wall. We did that back in 2000 when we were going through the pandemic, and when they was calling it, what was they calling that? The virus, what they call that virus?
Corona.
Corona.
Coronavirus.
Well, you know, corona is the corona is a feminine energy that's located in the celestial body. There's a corona, what you call it, in astrology.
Mm.
We brought that out, and she has the crowns on her. And that was done to bring the world to a standstill to get a restart. That's the only thing that ever came on, except the world down to a zero start. None of the wars, none of that, nor the disease. When Corona came, it set everything. And when it came, a portal opened up with, I think it was with Obatala, and who else was up on that? It was Saturn and Jupiter. So you help me out, sister. So when they came and they opened up a portal for us here in this diaspora to start to give us a restart, because it's counting on us to get things back in line. What we gonna do? We went out there chasing out the other wolf cookies, and we still don't want to let it go. It's time for us to elevate this thing away from the old, because if your spirituality has that moved you forward, it's time to get rid of it. But we got so many people who want to be the head, and they don't have a John Brown idea what this thing is all about. That's why I quit fooling a lot of them, because you're out here playing with the people's emotions and spirituality, and you're messing them up. We got a people that's duped in superstition, and they duped in spookism. So they try, because they're still trying to find an identity. I've been through that. I went through that. I paid the money for initiation. I got on the floor. I put on the elbows, and I done been on the mat. good googly movie. But when it's all said and done, they couldn't tell me no more what I already knew.
I want to play a little bit of this video and tell me what you think about Brother Oba, what he has to say right here.
Okay.
Of initiation and different customs, and it did not all match up at the same time. So what happened was,
wasn't Desi Arnaz also a practitioner as well?
Yeah, he had a Bakalame.
Yes, but he was Babaluae.
What they did was they started going to Nigeria. Now, at the same time, my mother's godfather, by the name of Baba Lloyd Weaver, Olosunmi, who made Yemonja in the Bronx, he was working for CBS at the time. He was a film producer, and some friends of his said that there were more opportunities in Lagos, Nigeria, for a black man in film. And so he migrated to Lagos after creating a very strong Ocha house in Brooklyn. When he got to Nigeria, he became involved with a lot of the politics, because he kind of like was involved with the television. So when you understand Nollywood and all of the fact that the Nigerians have their own production thing, he is one of the people that taught them how to do that. So Baba Lloyd began to facilitate people who did not want to do local meat. So they would come to Nigeria, and he would facilitate them and take them to the town or whatever reach they said that this person necessarily had to make. Over time, the Nigerians realized that there was money in this racket of tradition. And so a few key players started to write books, and they started to come and they started to create these environments, particularly for rich white people.
Were those book writers white, or were they actual Babalawos in Nigeria? Were they white people?
What is that?
That wrote those books?
Was white going as...
Were those white people that wrote those books, or were they like Nigerians that wrote the books?
Well, originally there were white.
It was a lot of white.
Most profound and prolific books on the Yoruba culture are written in German.
They were written in German initially.
Well, a lot because they went back. Yeah, and he's right on point with most of that. But see, a lot of it was left out because one of my friends used to be a place, and used to be a brother name was Ajayi Diary. His dad was the high priest in Eli Ife. And I got to know him before he went back to Nigeria, because he was going back to set up an insurance company. We had many conversations, and he's the one that told me they had moved Eli Ife from the original location to where it is today, because when it was with the North people, it was not in the same place, and Oyo State was not in the same place. So when Orumila came on the scene after Luduwa died, they moved a lot of things into what they call the new Oyo State vicinity, and they moved the holy city. Because, and if you look at it, it was one time the North had one of the oldest creation stories at one time, which we call the Sand People. Everybody has a creation story, and it does not have anything to do with Adam and Eve. Okay, and that's what I learned about a lot of this by being around various Nigerian brothers. I got a brother name. His name is Balaji. Balaji, and matter of fact, he was the one that gave me the original Bible that they have over there from that was put together for them out of Ephah Bible. He got me that, and that book is you can't even hold a minute. Let me get that bad boy.
And I'm gonna play a little bit of this while you're looking for that. So
Okay.
German, then secondly French, and then you get to Spanish, and then you understand.
you know what? Now that I think about it, wasn't the Ocean Grove made a UNESCO site by a white woman? Yeah. Wow. So
she said Susan Wagner saved the Ocean Grove because she got there. It was a dump site.
Wow.
So this is how they got the initiation. So what happens is the Bible saw a profit in this. They could bring people to Nigeria, initiate them, but they had to get the people in the compounds to agree. So the compound people are not missionaries. There's nothing about these traditions that where we go on a missionary and we start telling people what they should come and do. So what they did was, because the people in the compounds, they don't make money, so because they don't leave, they're stuck in these compounds with these Orisha live. They got to take care of these Orisha. They are dedicated to it, right? So the Bible come along and they're like, listen, we're gonna bring this person over here and you're gonna initiate them to whatever it is. Let's say this in this grove they got Yemonja. They're like, you're gonna initiate the person to Yemonja, and then we're gonna take the person to Ifa. If you say something, we ain't feeding you, because they're the ones making the moves, getting in and out. So the Orisha people became subject to the Babalaos, their racket.
Love this brother. He owned it. I mean, he spot on. Spot on. Look how thick it is.
Wow.
This is the original. You can look it up. This bad boy ain't cheap. This was given to me as a gift from over there in Albion. I've got the auto bar hats that they made for me. All of this.
So what happened is that now what Ifa has become is like a handmaiden to the Babalao. The Babalao have gotten control, like almost like the mafia going into the priest, where these people are really dedicated to their Orisha, and all they do is worship the Orisha all day long, like almost like the monks. Like imagine like you have these people that go into Tibet with the monks and say, listen, we're gonna initiate people into monkhood, and if you guys don't like listen to what we're gonna do, we're not going to help you monks out anymore, right? And so then they begin to bring people to Tibet to become monks, and then they have to initiate them, and the Babalao gets the money, sends a little bit of money to the actual monastery where the monks are, and then say, okay, well, you're now initiated, you're a monk.
This book called After God is Dibia, Igbo Cosmology and Divination, $1,415.
Wow. Just for that book?
This book, right here, according to the thing, is $1,415.
And you know it's probably more now. That was probably back when when they were still printing it, and had the prices on there. It's probably worth like 10,000 now. Wow.
And I can go on and on and on. So, like I said, I got 1,500 books, and I know other 15. I got at least 150 of them that did them with EPA, and different writers and different guys who gave their interpretation. And when I read and put it all together, I said, here's the problem right here. It's a money thing. But you need to get, as a matter of fact, one time, Ephaism for the Ephaism, the complete work of Orumila by Clara Evie. This gonna make you laugh. At one time, it was worth $4,000.
So do you think it's the white people that came over that like learned about it that begin to like up the price on things, or do you think
that's who began to who had the printing press and the money and the capital to produce it? And who do we believe the most above our own? Her name, Emo Day now, but we used to call her Shabandi back in the day. She still have a copy of the original book when it first came out in 1988 or 90. She still have the book. And we was and back in 2000, we were trying to get the book The book was for 4,000, and just for one particular book was 1,300. But one particular old dude explained to his fullest was 1,300.
You know, I bought a
Now people
book
can go
with
online and
the
look at my book.
Odu. It was called Ifa the Odu. Ifa and the Odu. That book was $250. I gave it to Baba Arrested. You know what I'm saying? May he rest in peace. Because he was like, "Why do you
Wow.
have this?" You know,
May he
you
rest in
know, you
peace.
know. I gave it to him. I
We
spent
hope that,
$250 on it, but then gave it to him, and I don't know who has it now, but because he was like, "Man, this has
well,
everything.
I'm
It
probably
had the dues. It had all the sacrifices in it. It had the translation from, and I know it probably was not. Who knows who wrote that book? But yeah,
yeah, that's what I said. So I've got all man, sister, if you could, I've got tablets, I've got spiral binds, I got books, 1,500 easy.
well, this is not
Because
our
I
first time.
dedicated myself.
We're encroaching on 2 hours right now. We have been going up and through there, and this is not the. This is just part one, okay? Because we're gonna go up and through there. We're gonna like go even deeper. I just wanted to get the first part out and get
Yes.
like the ability to show that we can like do this because listen, I know I'm getting older. You know what I'm saying? And you and I'm like, we
Right.
cannot
I definitely
let
get no.
right. We can't let this information just pass us by, you know? So I hope that there's
Yeah.
people here that are taking in some of the things you as an elder are putting down, you know? I hope that
Yeah.
people are taking notes and do some of the research, find some of these Bible passages. The next thing that we're going to go in, the next live we're going to do, we're going to go deep into Ephah. We are going to like address
Yes.
some of the issues within Ephah because we can't do this all in one. There's too much information. You have over
Now, okay,
1,500 books.
now yeah, we got an
We'll be
hour and
here for
42
hours,
minutes.
like 8. This is just the
Listen,
beginning,
sister.
John.
Yeah, Modu Pay, I appreciate you. And I'm enjoying it because it helps me to, get this out because Bubba, a goon baby, said, you can't leave and we got to get you emptied up, Baba, before you go because you got too much knowledge. We need to know about this. I said, well, you better get me now. You better get
Right.
me.
Listen, and
Ain't
hey,
nothing.
we gotta get everything we can every day, and we gotta
Yeah.
like do a live every day to get all the information, all of them out of all your head, out of all. Because I'm sure you've read all 1,500 books. I don't know. I don't think. Now
Yeah,
I tend to get
ma'am.
books and just have them
Yes,
in my
ma'am.
bookshelf and don't read them. I'll have like a
Don't
thing
do it.
about buying books. Read the books, right?
Yeah.
Sit down and read the
Yeah, I
books.
got
But
I read
I'm
my
sure you
highlight.
read all those books.
Yeah, I read them all. I highlight them. I make key points in them, and I can go into them. And that's I go like, man, how you do it? Oh, some of my lectures, I have about 10 books. I quote out all of them for the guy can read it. So man, I don't know how I do it. I'm just telling you, it's ready, and bring it all together. But I do want to
Well,
say
if
I
it was your
appreciate you. We
permission,
getting
I
this
do
going.
want to be able to like replay some of the old lectures that you have so that people could like
By
just
all means,
yes.
by all means, by all
So
means, go,
I want I'm
find
gonna
them plain.
revive some. I'm gonna revive some of those things and bring them back. So because people need to see that stuff.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But anyway, I appreciate it. And we'll get ready to do a part two. Let me know. And we'll try to pick up with it and we'll go deep into E5 because that's what people are still hooked on spookism, trying to make it be.
Uh-oh. I ended this just right on time before it started messing up. So whoever out there they trying to mess up my little live, but it's okay. Whoever throwing whatever to like try to like it mess it up, we already ended it anyway. So okay. Much love, Baba YashaBiyah. We got like some great information. We're gonna bring you back and it's gonna be awesome. Shouts out to Baba YashaBiyah, and he will be back giving more information. Much love. Peace.
Alchemize your energy. Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. Alchemize your energy, my friend. Let let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright, from darkness to light.